Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. I should have confessed earlier, but I was just too afraid. Yes, it's true. I did watch Norbit growing up as a kid. Not only that, but I watched it more than once. In fact, I might have watched it over 100 times growing up. I know, I'm embarrassed too. I don't know what happened. It was all just so fast. I didn't know any better.
I didn't know any better. I didn't know any better. I didn't know any better.
So yeah, growing up I would occasionally watch Norbit, mainly because my mom liked it, and I guess I did too by default. Just by going on memory alone, I think the main reason why we rewatched it so much was because of how simple it is. Just an average underdog style movie, you know, rooting for the little guy. I think it also helps that Norbit has no big themes or metaphors, you know, just fat jokes and a hint of racism.
That's kind of racist. Yes.
If you were born after 2007 and don't know what Norbit is, don't worry, you can still watch this video. You won't be missing out on much. All you have to know is that Eddie Murphy plays 3 characters. 2 of them a bit problematic in my opinion. Now, if you haven't caught on yet, I don't like this movie very much. It's a bit too cringy for me. Most of the jokes are just for shock value as well as being at the expense of an overweight woman.
I understand, little pony. I know your pain.
I know it's a character that Eddie Murphy made up, but you know, I'll come back to this in a little bit later. Not only that, there's little to no logic to the events unfolding in the film, and for a comedy, it's not that funny.
He's right there in the woods, in the farm. I told you before. I don't know nothing. He's gonna take with that fine skinny girl.
That being said, there are a couple people who like the movie. Not many, but some. I mean, look at the IMDb page, and you'll see this very divisive list on whether Norbit is classified as a great film or utter garbage. Look, I'm all about everybody having the right to enjoy whatever they want, and if you find joy in Norbit, then I mean great, but, I mean, out of all the movies to defend, you guys are sticking to Norbit? What does Norbit have that other movies don't? Everything that you would unironically like about Norbit, like the underdog storyline, can be found in other better films. I think that the main reason why people, like my mom, enjoy the film so much is because of the nostalgia value it has. Either that or they just love fat jokes and slapstick comedy like a fucking Neanderthal.
Maria Guerrera.
Excuse me, ma'am. Are you wearing bottoms?
Of course I'm wearing bottoms.
Hey, you dirt.
He just bought the whole damn cow. It's a special cow too. That must be where buttermilk come from.
While Norbit has its fans, it also has its critics. In fact, when the film came out, there were a bunch of people calling out the movie, and one critic even stated that, quote, Eddie Murphy embarrasses himself and the entire human race by wallowing in a hideous stew of bigoted humor. So it seems like the general consensus of Norbit is that it's an embarrassment of a film. I mean, let's look at the awards it won. It won Alliance of Women's Film Journalism's Hall of Shame. It won Worst Actor Eddie Murphy. Worst Supporting Actor Eddie Murphy as Wong. Worst Supporting Actress, Eddie Murphy as Rasputia. Worst Actor of the Decade, Eddie Murphy. Worst, obviously worst film from the Oklahoma Film Critics Circle Awards. It won that one. It's got some awards. You can't say it doesn't have any. Alright, so does Norbit really deserve all the hate? Yes it does. It's such a boring movie that relies too hard on its shock humor.
Open your mouth.
Slapstick comedy. and it's A-list actors. I mean, you have a lot of fucking talent here, but the whole film feels like something they just made for a paycheck. They tried to add heart to it, but it feels so fake and polished and so artificial. It looks like a movie, and not in a good way. Rewatching it recently, I never got invested in the film. It just looks and feels like a movie that you would find in the $5 bin at Walmart. Apparently this film was written in a day. According to the featurette that's on the DVD, the co-writer, Charlie Murphy, states that he flew to LA, got in a hotel room in Beverly Hills, and in his words, knocked it out. I know I might be overreacting since he did have a history of writing for shows, so maybe he was able to finish it all in one day, but I think it's always good to wait a little bit, maybe even have other eyes on it, which eventually it did. Since the whole production was funded by DreamWorks, the production was top notch, and according to the featurette, the script drastically changed from the start to the end. Since I'm already talking about the behind the scenes of the movie, I think it's time to talk about the elephant in the room. And no, I don't mean that as a fat joke. So, Rasputia. Before we get into the ethics and whatnot, I do want to point out that in the featurette, they actually talk about using a double, like a physical double for Rasputia at times, and then editing Murphy's face on top of hers. In fact, they actually used one actress in particular to use her as a reference for Rasputia's body. The actress said she was okay with doing it, but at times she did seem a bit uncomfortable and frustrated, and honestly, I don't blame her. A lot of the jokes are at the expense of her body, or I guess the body of the character. Regardless of this, the film was still written with some intent to poke fun at, well, overweight women. Even in the featurette, everyone who is talking about the process of Rasputia seems like they're walking on eggshells. Everybody seems like they're uncomfortable, especially the head of makeup, Rick Baker. This then had me thinking, is being that overweight inherently funny because no, quote, realistic person should look that way? According to the digital and makeup team, supposedly Rasputia is 400 pounds, and since my 600-pound life wouldn't be on the air for another 5 years, I assumed that this was the most ridiculous weight that they could think of. I guess what I'm trying to ask is, should people be okay with other people being overweight, or is it okay to laugh and make jokes since they're ridiculously overweight? I know that the answer is more complex than that, but it's just something that I was thinking while looking into the movie. With all that being said, there was still a physical actress playing Rasputia at times, and I have to assume she's 400 pounds as well. And although the character is a made-up one, the actress's body is still shown at points, and again, she was the reference for Rasputia's body to the makeup department. I don't have the answer to this question that I posed or whatever, but I thought it was just interesting enough to share. Since I've been so rough on the movie, I guess it's only fair to say some nice things about it. I would be lying if I said I didn't get a laugh from this movie from once in a while.
I object!
Object. So we not gotten to that part yet.
Then I'm objeculating prematurely.
I think the real star of the show for me would be Cat Williams. I think he really made me stick to the movie. To give credit, most of the actors were good, The makeup department did a good job with the task that they were given. And I guess it seems like most of the actors had a good time. Well, except maybe Thandiwe Newton, and Rick Baker, and Eddie Murphy. But did you know that Norbit is on U-Star too?